Ukraine's defense forces repelled over 70 Russian assaults on 5 fronts on Monday the 17th of April. Source: General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Facebook. Information is of 6 o'clock on the 18th of April. Quote, "Enemy forces are suffering significant losses and yet continue to focus their efforts on conducting offensive operations on the Kupiansk, Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka and Marinka fronts. They are actively deploying operational tactical and military aircraft. Over 70 enemy assaults were repelled on these fronts over the course of the past 24 hours. The cities of Bakhmut and Marinka remain in the epicenter of hostilities." Details: On Monday, Russian forces carried out 4 missile strikes and 41 airstrikes and deployed multiple launch rocket systems in 57 further attacks on positions of the Ukrainian armed forces and civilian infrastructure in a number of settlements. Several civilians were injured in these attacks. Sosnivka, Popivka and Iskryskivshchina, Sumy Oblast, and Oka, Barak, Vovchansk, Okremivka and Nestern, Kharkiv Oblast came under Russian attack. On the Kupiansk front, Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations near Sinkivka and shelled Topoly, Krasny Persh, Novomlinsk, Vorokna and Zapadna, Kharkiv Oblast. On the Lyman front, Russian forces conducted offensive operations to the north of Spern but were unsuccessful. They shelled Stelmakivka, Nevsky and Bilohorivka, Luhansk Oblast, and Ivanivka and Spern, Donetsk Oblast. On the Bakhmut front, fighting for the city of Bakhmut continues. Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations near Ivanovsky and Predtekine. Vashukivka, Minkivka, Orikovo-Vasilivka, Novomarkov, Bakhmut, Ivanovsky, Chasiv Yar, Novodmitrivka, Kleshivka, Sherbinivka and Teresk, Donetsk Oblast came under Russian fire. On the Avdiivka front, Russian forces conducted unsuccessful offensive operations in the vicinity of Novokulinov, Severny and Pervomaisk, Donetsk Oblast. They shelled a number of civilian settlements, including Karamik, Novokulinov, Berdichi, Avdiivka, Tenank, Pervomaisk, Netailov and Karlivka. On the Marinka front, Ukraine's defense forces repelled numerous Russian assaults in the vicinity of Marinka. Krasnohorivka, Pobeda and Novomikhailivka, Donetsk Oblast came under Russian fire. Russian forces did not undertake offensive operations on the Shakhtarsk front, though they shelled Shakhtarsk, Novokranka, Vlika Novosilka, Neskuchny, Zolotaniva, Prekostivka and Vuhledar. Russian forces are on the defensive on the Zaporizhia and Kherson fronts. They shelled more than 40 civilian settlements, including Vremivka and Novopil, Donetsk Oblast, Malinivka, Chervon, Huliaipol, Charivny, Mala-Tokhmichka and Orikhiv, Zaporizhia Oblast, Nikopol, Dnepropetrovsk Oblast, and Zolota Balka, Berislav, Elvov, Ivanivka, Mykilsky, Antonivka and Kherson Oblast. Ukraine's Air Force conducted 12 airstrikes on clusters of Russian military personnel and equipment and shot down a Merlin reconnaissance drone. Ukraine's rocket forces and artillery struck 2 clusters of Russian forces and an electronic warfare station. AFU repel over 60 attacks and destroyed 2 enemy air defense systems, General Staff. On April 16, the Armed Forces of Ukraine (AFU) hit enemy anti-aircraft missile complexes, warehouses, and personnel concentration areas and shot down 4 occupiers' drones. This follows from a statement by the General Staff of the AFU from its morning summary. The enemy suffers considerable losses but continues focusing on conducting offensive actions in the Lyman, Bakhmut, Avdiivka, and Mariinka areas. It actively uses operational tactical and army aviation in specified areas. Bakhmut and Mariinka remain at the epicenter of hostilities. Over a day, our soldiers repelled more than 60 enemy attacks on the indicated areas of the front. Over the past day, the Russian occupiers launched 25 missile strikes from the S-300 air defense system on the peaceful cities of Zaporizhia and Komaishuvka in the Zaporizhia region, and Snihorivka in the Mykolaiv region, and 42 airstrikes. The enemy carried out 46 attacks using MLRSs on the positions of the AFU and the infrastructure of populated areas. Civil casualties were reported in high-rise, private residential buildings, civilian educational institutions, hospitals, churches, and other civilian infrastructure were destroyed and damaged. In particular, the Russian invaders shelled the settlements of Svesa, Shalyhine, Bunyakine, Bilopilya, Iskryskivshina, Shpyl, Volfine, Unikivka, Basivka, and Vlika Pisarivka in the Sumy region, as well as Veterinarn, Neskuchny, Ohertsev, Vovchansk, Bochkov, Malavovcha, Zemlyanka, and Topoly in the Kharkiv region. In the Kupiansk axis, the enemy shelled the settlements of Novomlinsk, Vorokna, Zapadna, and Kindrashivka of the Kharkiv region. In the Kupiansk axis, the enemy shelled the settlements of Novomlinsk, Vorokna, Zapadna, and Kindrashivka of the Kharkiv region. On the Lyman axis, the enemy conducted unsuccessful offensives in the area north of the settlement of Hurahorivka and near Spern. Stelmakivka, Nevsky, and Bilohorivka in the Luhansk region and Ivanivka, Spern, and Torsky in the Donetsk region were hit by artillery fire. On the Bakhmut axis, the enemy continues to conduct offensive actions. The battles for the city of Bakhmut do not stop. The enemy launched unsuccessful attacks in the Kromov and Ivanovsky areas. Vashukivka, Ninkivka, Orikovo-Vasilivka, Bakhmut, Ivanovsky, Chasiv Yar, Novodmitrivka, Severn, Pleshchiyivka, and Sherbinivka in the Donetsk region were affected by enemy shelling. On the Avdiivka axis, the enemy carried out offensive actions in Novokulinov, Severn, Vodian, Pervomaysk, and Nevelsky, without success. Fired more than 15 settlements. Among them are Novokulinov, Avdiivka, Tenank, Vodian, Pervomaysk, and Netailo. On the Marinka axis, Ukrainian defenders repelled numerous enemy attacks in the Mariinka settlement of the Donetsk region. At the same time, Krasnohorivka, Mariinka, Georgivka, Maximilianivka, Pobeda, and Novomikhailivka came under enemy fire. The enemy has not carried out offensive operations on the Shakhtarsk axis today. Shelled the settlements of Vuhledar, Prekostivka, Novokrayinka, Vlika Novosilka, and Ramivka in the Donetsk region. The enemy is defending on the Zaporizhia and Kherson axes. Over 40 settlements were shelled during the day. Among them are Ramivka and Novopil of the Donetsk region, Chervon, Charivny, Orikhiv, Novopavlivka, and Stepov of the Zaporizhia region, Zoloda Balka, Kozatsky, Lviv, and Mykilsky of the Kherson region, as well as the city of Kherson. Over the past day, AFU Aviation carried out 5 strikes on the personnel concentration areas in the anti-aircraft missile complex of the occupiers. 4 enemy UAVs were also shot down. 2 of the Orlan 10 type, 1 of the Alerin reconnaissance type, and 1 of the Lancet kamikaze type. Units of missile troops and artillery hit the command post, anti-aircraft missile complex, manpower concentration area, fuel and lubricant warehouse, and 2 ammunition warehouses of the occupiers. As the Ukrainian news agency earlier reported, on April 15, the AFU liquidated 520 occupiers. The total losses of personnel of the army of the aggressor state of the Russian Federation exceeded 182,000.